Viscaland asks, is your beard ACC?
Absolutely.
What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you another Q&A video. This is where you guys ask questions and I answer them. Of course, all of these questions being pulled from my Instagram, SR4U_Josh. You'll see it on screen right now. It'll also be linked down below in the description. So if you'd like to participate in future Q&A episodes, the questions are always pulled from my Instagram. So go follow me there if you don't already. Also, if you guys enjoy the Q&A series on the channel and want to see it continue, please support this video with a like. And if you don't want to miss out on future Q&A episodes, if you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. On to the questions. Kanav Gupta asks, what is the best and easiest way to prevent blisters? Now, being somebody that's constantly breaking in new boots, I have to be very careful about blisters, because if I get one, it's a very annoying, painful, kind of inconvenient thing that you're going to have to deal with for the better part of a month, because it can take a long time for a blister to heal depending on the specific spot that it's in. And I found that the best way to prevent blisters is to just not let them happen in the first place. What a lot of people don't seem to realize about blisters is that it's something that actually develops over time, and you almost force it upon yourself to actually get the blister. Unlike twisting your ankle or falling and scraping your knee, these are injuries that kind of happen in an instant and there's not much you can do to prevent them. Whereas a blister on your heel, as an example, typically you're wearing your new boots for the first time, you start to feel a little bit of discomfort on your heel after about 15 minutes, but you continue to keep playing, and as you play, it starts to hurt a little bit more and a little bit more. If you don't let it get to that point, you're not going to have any issues with blisters. So my recommendation is when you're breaking in new boots, take things slow, and as soon as you start to feel discomfort, stop completely, take the boots off. If you have your older pair that you can put on to finish the session, that would be ideal. But typically the best way to prevent blisters is to just not let them develop in the first place. Andres Benavides asks, I think crocodiles are scary. Agreed. Andreas Georgiou asks, Tiempo leather or Mizuno leather? As great as the leather quality is right now on the current Tiempo Legend 7 Elite and the Pro, because technically they have the same kangaroo leather upper, I think when you compare it to the made in Japan Mizuno leather boots, the quality of the leather on the Mizuno product is just better. Does that mean that the boot as an overall product is better? That's a matter of opinion, because I definitely don't think there's anything wrong with the Tiempos. But when you're talking about straight up leather quality, I don't think you can beat a made in Japan Mizuno boot. Who is Dan's asks, is Volt yellow or green? If you buy some highlighter markers in a pack, it'll typically come with highlighter yellow and highlighter green, with the highlighter yellow basically being exactly Volt. So is Volt yellow or green? Clearly it's yellow. Ben Jungblut asks, did you have any soccer legends that you looked up to as a kid? I think everybody had those certain players that they look up to as a kid, and for me, watching was very much a learning experience. So I really liked watching players who were playing the same position as me, which is why I would say Zidane was one of those players that really had a big influence on the types of things that I tried to incorporate into my own personal style of play. Ronaldinho was another player that I would say was more influential in regards to me just trying to learn skills that were totally unnecessary, just because he made everything look so easy. Very entertaining player to watch. Thierry Henry was another one of those players that I thoroughly enjoyed watching, although really couldn't do anything that he was capable of. And then later on, as I started playing striker, guys like Wayne Rooney and Fernando Torres back in their prime, definitely players that I look up to. Super Unknown Person asks, you have SR4U laces, you've been investing in a supplement brand, but have you ever thought about creating a performance brand, even with J-Mike? This is easily one of the most common questions that I've been asked over my entire football boot reviewing career, if you want to call it that. When am I going to design, make, and sell my own brand of football boots? With all the experience that I have of wearing basically every boot to come out over the last 6 or 7 years, surely I have this perfect idea and design in my head of the perfect football boot. And I'm here to tell you, and maybe you're going to be disappointed with this answer, that it is a near impossible task and likely will not be happening anytime soon. What I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to football boots is how complicated they actually are. As much as I would love to design my own boots and have my own brand, the reality of that situation is that it would be a losing battle from the start. Consider the complexity of a Nike Mercurial Vapor as an example. The Flyknit upper alone, I can't even imagine the amount of money it costs to produce the machine that actually makes the Flyknit upper. Forget about the development cost of the actual Flyknit upper itself, but these proprietary technologies is really what sells football boots in the modern era. And that alone, even if I had the idea, the technical know-how and the money to actually accomplish that goal, it would be so impossible for me to achieve that, again, making my own football boot that could legitimately compete against a brand like Nike or Adidas or Puma, who have set the bar so astronomically high, like I said, it'd be a losing battle from the start. But don't get me wrong, this is still something that is kind of an ultimate goal of mine. I would love to design and kind of have my own brand of football boots. I just think at the moment, it's not necessarily the most realistic thing in the world. But if there is a brand watching that values my input, I would absolutely love to be involved in a project like that, because that to me is something that I've always kind of aspired to do. It's one thing to critique football boots in an objective way. It's another thing to completely design your own product and really have to think about every single thing in order to make the best possible product. So I'd love to do something like this, but going on my own and making my own boot, I don't think is something that's going to happen anytime soon. Also, I don't think J Mike knows anything about this. So Jay, if you're watching, shoot me a text and we'll start working on the design. A Toto12 asks, do different boots actually enhance your play? I think this is a tricky question because the answer is really going to vary depending on what your opinion is. What I think is very difficult to argue is that it's the player, not the boots. The boots aren't going to be playing for you. If you're a good player, you'll be good pretty much no matter what boots that you have on your feet. And I guess the people that are of the belief that if they buy speed boots, they're going to be faster, or if they buy control boots, they're going to have a better touch on the ball. I don't think there's a lot of validity to that argument either. But I think what needs to be considered is that when you pick out a brand new pair of football boots, you're doing just that. You are actually making a conscious decision and picking one boot over everything else for some reason. Whether it's the way that it looks, whether it's the way that it fits, whether it's a comfort thing, whatever it may be, there's a reason why you're picking that specific boot and choosing to wear it. So from that perspective, I definitely think that football boots impact your performance, but whether or not one boot over another can actually enhance your ability to perform, that is a much tougher argument. I definitely think that for certain people, football boots can offer some form of a confidence boost. So in that regard, yes, they definitely can enhance performance, but I am also of the opinion that no specific boot will put you at any kind of an advantage. So again, depending on what your perspective is, the answer can more or less change. George Jimmy 39 asks, what are you looking for in the New Balance Tequila 2? To be honest with you, I'm just hoping that they don't screw it up. To give a little more detail though, the Tequila 1.0 Pro, if you didn't know, is one of my personal favorite boots at the moment. Truly one of the more underrated top-end models currently available. And I guess if there's anything that they can improve with the second generation, I hope that they maintain the same upper. I hope that they maintain all of the same elements. I definitely think that they could make the stud pattern a little bit more aggressive and the shape maybe could be tweaked a little bit. But beyond that, I really don't want to see too much in the way of any kind of extreme changes. YNS Jose asks, what is the right amount of time before getting new boots? This is another one of those questions where everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. I don't think there's any limit on how many new boots you can have. If you want to wear new boots in every single match and you can afford that, by all means go and do that. I would say that the answer to this question more so just depends on what your budget allows for and how picky you are about changing into brand new boots, because some people really like the feel of well-worn boots. And if you're one of those people that doesn't like to change your boots that often, my honest recommendation would be to buy multiple pairs of the exact same boot and actually rotate them in throughout the entire season over the course of a couple of years. That's actually going to extend the life of all of your boots rather than just having one pair and constantly wearing them. If you do choose to do that though, obviously once your boots break entirely, you're going to want to replace them. If you don't want to let it get to that point, again, you kind of have to go by feel. Certain boots will break down over time. It's inevitable that the plastic will typically go a little bit soft in the sole plate, so stud pressure can sometimes become an issue even before the boots break. It's really a matter of comfort. As long as your boots are still comfortable, I wouldn't really say that there's any real reason to change them. But if you do want to change them, even though they're comfortable, just because you want something new, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, It's a matter of personal preference here. Ryan Yassin asks, what do you think of the new Neymar Silencio colorway by Nike? Well, Ryan, funny you asked that, because just today, a brand new episode of the Boot Nerds podcast went live where me and J-Mike discuss our thoughts on Neymar's brand new signature colorway, along with a whole bunch of other football boot related topics. So if you want to check out that video, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen. If you're not subscribed to the Boot Nerds podcast channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, a little bell notification as well, because we post a brand new podcast episode every single week. Tommy Drake asks, what cleats are the best performing in wet weather and the best to buy with soft ground traction? I've talked about the difference in performance between soft ground stud patterns in the past, where really I don't feel like there's a significant traction difference from one soft ground stud pattern to the next. They all end up feeling very similar. As far as which boots I feel are the best in wet weather, I've always been a fan of wearing leather boots in the wet just because I feel like the leather ends up offering a little bit of extra grip on the ball. Typically, boots with rubber elements can often be a little bit grippier on the ball as well. Some can be more slippery though, it just depends. Not many boots with rubber elements though, so that's not very valid. But something like, for me right now, one of my go-to boots in the wet is actually the Nike Phantom Vision. And that's mainly because it has this very heavy kind of like sandpaper texturing on the surface. That texturing is always there, whether it's dry or wet. And I feel like having that little bit of extra texturing does make the ball feel a little bit less slick on the upper in wet weather playing conditions. But really, I wouldn't say that there's any one boot in particular with a soft ground stud pattern that's best in the wet. And no, I don't think ACC makes any kind of difference. The Real Seagull asks, favorite shoe not soccer related? Pretty easy answer for me. It's got to be the Jordan 1. Give me those in pretty much any colorway and I'll wear it. Braden Muchnick asks, a fellow Canadian asking you this, can you update the HR4U channel with a hockey version of what's in my bag for the Canadian boys? If you've been around long enough, then you know that there is an HR4U channel, which stands for Hockey Reviews for You. I don't make videos on that channel anymore, but I do still play hockey. I can honestly tell you that I'm probably not going to make any new videos on that channel, but for the sake of answering this question in a Q&A video, I will give you a quick rundown of what I'm currently using. For stick, I just got the CCM Jet Speed Pro and I actually really like it. For skates, about a year and a half ago, I got the custom True skates. Really big fan of those as well. For my gloves, I have some Pro Stock Warrior QRL gloves, and then pretty much all of my protective gear is miscellaneous Bauer stuff. Tyler Holland asks, Jamie, this might be an odd question, but what kind of music do you listen to when working out, warming up before a match, or just on a day-to-day basis? Not a weird question at all, but I might have kind of a weird answer in that I'm not really a big music guy. When it's on in the car, I'm kind of just listening to whatever's popular and on the radio at that point in time. But when it comes to actually training at the gym or warming up before a match, I pretty much go no music whatsoever. I really like to focus on what I'm doing. And even if I do have headphones in and I'm listening to something, I always find that I pretty much just tune it out. So I'd rather not have the headphones at all. And like I said, I pretty much just go no music. Anyways, guys, that's it for this Q&A episode. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. And again, if you want to participate in the next episode by asking a question, I pull all of the questions from my Instagram, SR4U_Josh. You'll see it on screen. It'll also be linked down below. If you have any questions regarding anything that I discussed in today's video, leave it down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. All my social media is also linked down below in the description as well, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.